What up, friends? Where's my drink? And today we're going to be reviewing Young Posse's second mini album, EP, whatever you want to call it. Double XL. Like I said before, this is the second EP by K-pop girl group Young Posse. Despite being a K-pop group though, Young Posse largely deviates from the traditional idol sound and aesthetic. While most groups have like one or two rappers in a group alongside like one verse in a song that is dedicated to rap, Young Posse is largely a hip-hop focused group. Even back on their debut EP, Macaroni Cheese, you can tell that Young Posse were definitely something different in the K-pop sphere. The style of hip-hop that they usually take inspiration from is generally pretty different than the typical trendy pop rap that you see a lot of groups going for today. From drill and trap on the Macaroni Cheese EP alongside rage and even boom bap on this EP, you can tell that Young Posse and their producers are genuinely fans of the genre, especially because they're pulling from genres like boom bap that aren't exactly in the mainstream anymore. Their cadence, aesthetic, and music videos are also very unique, showcasing some very off-the-wall and quirky presentation, kind of reminiscent of older, quirky, and more experimental, I guess, girl groups like Orange Caramel. While I do think that their previous Macaroni Cheese EP alongside their newest 8 That EP are stronger on the whole, I'm not going to be reviewing them because they're a bit too short for a dedicated review. This EP does still have a lot of highlights on it as well. Some very cool sounds, some very cool inspirations, even if it doesn't come together as cohesively in comparison. For fans of K-pop that are looking for the quirky and off-the-wall stylings reminiscent of those older K-pop girl groups and K-pop groups in general, this EP does have some clear highlights on it that you really don't want to miss out on if you're willing to take the chance on them. The first track, Scars, is an okay introduction to the record overall. It mainly features a rage instrumental that is very reminiscent of Western artists like Lil Uzi Vert, even down to the heavily auto-tuned vocals that are present on most of this track. It's just not really my thing, although I do think they do a pretty good job at actually channeling this vibe. It has a light and breezy sound alongside a fuzzy and pulsating edge in its beat that I think is actually pretty engaging. For what it is, it's fine. The vocals also have a pretty decent flow, and I think the auto-tune right here is actually done to a pretty great stylized effect. However, it's the instrumentation and the instrumental in general that kind of lets me down a bit. It just falls flat for me. It's like it wants to build into this really hype moment, but I find that the chorus itself kind of undercuts that energy that's welling up within this track. The chorus just kills the momentum on the track a bit, and I wish we got a little bit more elaborate in the instrumentation here. Again, it's a fine track. I do think it actually is kind of a highlight in how different it is from a lot of the other songs on this EP, but it just doesn't really do much for me. I can also appreciate the lyrics on this one about owning your scars in your past and, they're just a part of you. However, ironically, the lyrics don't delve deep enough to actually fully take advantage of this. Next, we get to the title track and the big single from this EP, Double XL, and this is the good shit. The boom bap beat on this one is extremely fun, and the way the girls just come in on this one is just so satisfying and punchy. It goes hard as hell, and the instrumentation on this one, it's mainly a callback and reference, I guess a sampling as well, of So Taiji and Boys' Come Back Home, which in turn was a sampling of Cypress Hill's Insane in the Membrane. So, we got that classic 90s sound here that I think is done really well. The scratching, the samples, the punchy drum kit and synths, it's a perfect combination of chill and hype. The flows here also are super stylish and playful, and they have a ton of variety on this one too. I love the ad-libs, the subtle keys and piano we got going on here, and the vocal transitions between each part are super smooth. Add that onto the very unique vocal colors from each of the members here, this is what K-pop does best, I think, showcasing the unique talents of each member of a group. It's also an interesting combination of pre-existing genres, but in a very entertaining and kind of fresh way, at least for K-pop. We get that old school sound mixed with some of the new school trap-oriented stuff as well. I think it's a really nice melding of different rap styles. Sunhye also just shows why she is the person to watch when it comes to 5th gen rappers. I can't believe we're already in the 5th gen, but her flow, her skill, and technicality, she's the real deal. She's someone that I look at and I hear, and I think that she actually really enjoys hip-hop as a whole. It's not like a trend to her. It really does feel like she has a deep understanding of the flows, the instrumentation, and how you can ride a beat. She gets it. The other members also hold their own too, again showcasing very unique flows and vocal styles. And I'm also really digging the lyrics on this track as well, talking about how they're on the come up and how, they're trying to make it big, so they're gonna feel like they're big, and how they just take on all challengers. They put their all into what they do. They go big or go home. And you know what? I appreciate that, especially coming from like a rookie group. I'm also loving all the references too, like to Billie Eilish's fashion, alongside probably the Armani White song, also talking about Billie. And then we get like Wu-Tang references, and then even a reference to fucking Old Dirty Bastard Shimmy Ya. Like, what the hell? Unfortunately though, after this song we get to D&D, which is by far my least favorite song on the project, and probably the only one I actively dislike. It mainly showcases the problem that can arise from doing contemporary R&B songs, mainly in how boring it is. It does have this like Afrobeat influence to it that can make it a bit interesting, however, I also don't think the song really channels what makes Afrobeat interesting when it's at its best. Like, Afrobeat is lively, it's fun, it has this like sort of like communal feeling to it, but this one is very sparse and skeletal, and I just don't think that this vibe really captures what the instrumentation should have. Their vocals are still good, but they are relatively low key, and that combined with the very sparse and simple instrumental, it doesn't have enough power behind it, I think. It does get a bit better as we get to the second half of the song, as it picks up a bit and we go in a more like dance direction. However, again, there's just not much here that actually holds my attention. It also doesn't really have that like young Posse charm to it that I really like about their title tracks and even some of their B-sides as well. It doesn't really get into the more personal side of them. It stays kind of generic lyric-wise, and then it also doesn't really have that quirky instrumental style that I like from them too. So this one in general just doesn't really have what I like about Young Posse on it. It just kind of feels like a generic contemporary R&B tune that really any K-pop group could do. However, now we get to Rookie of the Year. By far my favorite song on the mini album, and honestly, probably one of their best songs, period. It does have that like kind of old school hip hop sound, but it's not really doing a boom bap style. It's more channeling like that early mid 2000s hip hop era with the sort of soul influence. It has these like shimmering beats and very smooth production that was very reminiscent of songs from that time. In a way, it's almost like what 2000s era Kanye West or Jay-Z were doing. But we gotta talk about that instrumental, man. The vocal samples in this one, the synths, the drums, they are perfection. The vocals and flows were also fantastic, and I love how each member gets their own chance to shine here. They each have like a segment dedicated to them, and the fact that the lyrics are so personal on this one makes it even better. This one was primarily written by the members themselves, actually, which is pretty rare for K-pop, and like seeing lines about how Jieun was kind of missing school after she became an idol, or Sunhye talking about how her dad was her biggest cheerleader while she was trying to pursue her dreams in music. Like, that's the shit that I want to hear from K-pop. I love that they're actually digging deep and making songs that relate to them. And this is kind of how I feel about like people not in a scene making that scene style of music. Like, obviously, you can't really capture everything that goes into the like African American experience of making hip hop, but you can use those sounds and talk about something authentic and relatable to you. And I think that is what they did here, and I think that's how you should actually make music in a genre that's part of a scene that you're not part of. They're not just doing trendy pop rap. They're actually digging deep into many facets of hip hop and, these styles that have evolved over time. And I think that this shows that their producers and the members themselves have a pretty good understanding and appreciation of the genre. In fact, I would even say that this is one of my favorite K-pop B-sides out of any group in recent memory. Finally, we get to Skyline. It ends the EP, and while it's not the same genre, I kind of see it doing what Scars was trying to do, but better. It aims for more of a Jersey club vibe, and I think it actually pulls it off pretty well, especially since the production feels a bit more lush and kind of vivid as well. It feels more full overall, especially how we have a more engaging beat on this one, alongside the sort of echoing guitar and synths that are in the background, alongside the sampled vocals too. It scratches my brain in just the right way, and it feels like a very fitting and hopeful outro for the EP. The song has a weightlessness to it that really captures how the members have big dreams and they're actually starting to see them pay off. All of their wishes and vibes and feelings that they were talking about on Rookie of the Year, this song is kind of the culmination in those dreams starting to come true. The lyrics on this song also touch on this as well. However, I will say that there is one line in the song about like being blindfolded and still moving ahead and comparing it to fucking Stevie Wonder. Like, I get it, but it also feels like really awkward, and you're just like, yeah, we're the same as Stevie Wonder, guys. We're blindfolded, we're moving ahead. We're the same as this like legendary blind musician. I will say though, it is kind of awkward, but it's also kind of funny too, and I think it does fit Young Posse's aesthetic and style because, they're one of those groups that kind of tread the line of being unserious while also having occasional moments of sincerity as well. I think it's also talking about how, like, you shouldn't let setbacks stop you from achieving your dreams, just like how, Stevie Wonder didn't let his disabilities or setbacks stop him from achieving his dreams. It's just delivered in kind of a quirky and weird way, but you know what, I guess that's pretty fitting for them, huh? Now, like I said, while I do think this EP was good on the whole, I don't think it was as strong as their previous one, Macaroni Cheese, or their newest one, Ain't That. The highs on this thing are high. XXL and Rookie of the Year are among their best songs, period, and like I said, Rookie of the Year especially is one of my favorite K-pop B-sides in recent memory. However, the other songs on the EP, to varying degrees of goodness, don't match the very high highs of those two songs, often feeling a bit stripped back and skeletal in comparison. This simplistic production style on the other songs, to me, doesn't hold up to the very lush sounds of XXL and Rookie of the Year. However, the last track on the EP, Skyline, does showcase that you can have some relatively simple sounding songs sound very fulfilling, both instrumentally and lyrically. The themes, lyrics, and flows also showcase a confidence that is basically one of the biggest reasons why this group is so endearing. I also love how they're willing to kind of break the idol image a little bit and kind of do their own thing, and while it's not always to my taste, I also can appreciate how they have such a wide range of influences when it comes to hip-hop. They're not just sticking with what's trendy, they're kind of digging deep sometimes, alongside combining it with more modern influences too. It makes them feel more authentic, especially when combined with the very personal lyrics when they actually do get to write their songs, and I think it showcases that they understand where the genres that they like come from, and that while they're not always able to capture everything about these genres, because how can you when you're not part of the original culture, you can do your own thing using these genres and match the authenticity that stemmed from the root of the genre. They're not trend chasers, they like what they like. Still, the sort of lackluster consistency on this EP does showcase that they're still in the early growing phases of their career, especially now that we have an EP like Ain't That, which again is a bit too short for me to do a dedicated review on. I do think that they are taking what they learned from their debut EP Macaroni Cheese and this EP and just kind of modifying and honing it further. While I do miss some of the very quirky moments like the title track Macaroni Cheese off of that previous EP, it does showcase, at least from that to where they are now, that they are growing and they are gaining more confidence and skills as time goes on. Because of all this, I am feeling a decent 6 on XXL by Young Posse. Of course, you do still have to talk about album covers on this show, and I think this is a great album cover. It's heavily pulling from XXL magazine, which is, again, like the up-and-coming rookies of the hip-hop scene in the US. And, sometimes they even pull people from abroad as well, I think. And I think this is just a great homage to it. I mean, this is totally the vibe that they are going for in their careers, that they are this up-and-coming group. They're coming from a company that isn't exactly well off. It's a very small company, but it does seem like they have this sort of rugged authenticity to them, as much as you can have in the idol scene, at least. I love the color compositions here. Again, it's black and white with the harsh red lettering and stuff like that. I think the composition is great. Again, it's very XXL magazine. I think the influence was pulled off super well here. It's a great homage. But of course, those are just my thoughts on the second EP by Young Posse. What did you guys think? Do you think this was a natural evolution and kind of a refinement of what they were playing with on Macaroni Cheese? Or were you kind of wishing we got a bit more of that quirkiness that was present on Macaroni Cheese? Or if you're listening after Ain't That, even on the songs on Ain't That as well? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and maybe I'll make it big. And until the next one, farewell.